Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday live stream. So a lot of things to go over, so let's just jump right into it. So first of all, Davos is going on. If you don't know what Davos is, it's put on by the World Economic Forum, and it pretty much contributes or collaborates the public and private sector to figure out what is going wrong with the economic status of the world and how those guys and gals can fix it. And if you don't know, this was actually created by Klaus Schwab, like a famous one that talks about eats the bugs. I think everybody knows that meme. I'm not for sure if that's an actual reality, but I think it was actually debunked. It seems kind of ridiculous, but that's what's going on as far as Davos. And the whole thing that we're talking about today is the exposing of scams. Now, this is Brian Armstrong. He is here with a panel at CNBC. It looked very nice and toasty over there in Switzerland. But what he's going to say is something that should be said a heck of a lot more often. And he's going to talk about fractional reserve banking. And when you listen to this, you all know this stuff. You all know this because you're into Bitcoin and digital assets and crypto, and you probably have a diversified portfolio, but the majority of people do not. So I have to appreciate Brian Armstrong calling this out. And then for people who are actually watching this, so just take a listen to what he says, about 20 seconds or so. Pretty interesting.
Well, the banks are doing something very different, which is called fractional reserve lending. So they're actually lending out customer deposits without their permission, essentially, right, to earn the spread, and that's what the whole banking. That's why there's such heavy oversight from banking regulation.
What's different in what you're planning on doing with your customers' assets?
So under Genius, stablecoin issuers have to hold 100% reserve. It's not fractional reserve. 100% of the assets are in short-term U.S. Treasuries. It's very low risk. It's less risky.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, what does the bank do with my money? Because most of the people don't know. They have no idea that they can lend those out and kind of move things around. Also, they don't know that if 10% of all the bank participants went to their individual bank branch and said, give me all my money in cash, they couldn't do it. And that is the odd thing about the banks and fractional reserve lending. And Brian talks about it right here perfectly. And he pretty much makes the point, like, look, if you're looking for stability, we're talking about these things called stablecoins. I know people are very scared about those, but I'm going to tell you why it's actually a better deal than what you're getting at the bank. And then to further implore what he's talking about, he talks about yield. And he's absolutely right. Take a listen to this.
Yeah. So the number one is really around payment of rewards on stablecoins. I think Americans should be able to earn more money on their money. Banks should have to compete on a level playing field. And if the American people feel like the banks are not paying high enough interest rates, and stablecoin rewards can offer them more, then maybe the bank should have to pay higher interest rates to compete, right? I don't think there should be any protectionism.
Do you think that was put in directly for the banks? That was lobbied by the banks and put in?
Yes.
Yes, it was. And that's why we're going through the problems right now for the Clarity Act that actually gets passed. So I have to say, kudos to Brian Armstrong for going out to Davos and letting people in on little secrets that are out there. And this is the things that we need to do. We need to actually stick up for ourselves, fight as much as we possibly can, and then get the individuals and the masses on our side to say, like, look, all the negativity that you're hearing from the banking sector is from the banking sector. And we really should be giving a fair shake for the stablecoin, crypto, digital asset, Bitcoin market. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comments section. I thought that was a pretty great piece. Good job, Brian. Let's talk about some good stuff. I mean, that was fun, entertaining, but good stuff macro-wise. Things are looking pretty good as far as like inflation. Truflation. Great website. It pulls hundreds of different data points from real-time aspects into their API integration. They can give us and spit us out percentage rates as far as like inflation. And what it's saying, and it's an odd thing, just last month they were talking about how it's 1.78%. Now the Federal Reserve has it much higher. They have lagging indicators. They have lagging data. But things pretty much fall and are go in line with truflation. I know that people say, who cares about truflation? That's not what Jerome Powell is looking at. Exactly. It's not, but he should, but it doesn't really matter. He looks at his lagging indicators. But if you want to take a look at where things are going, look at truflation. There's a link in the description. You can find this website. If you don't want that, it's just truflation.com. Pretty simple. And it's taking a look at 1.48% for the United States. Now, this is CPI. This is great numbers. I like to see this. Anything we can get below 2%, that's great. Then hopefully the Federal Reserve will start cutting rates. Now, it looks like there's a 95% chance that is not going to happen. But this is a positive, I think, for inflation here in the United States. However, on the flip side of that, our neighbors to the north, Canada, are not doing so hot. I just got this information, and I thought it was interesting that, and I'm not from Canada. I've never been to Well, actually, that's not true. I've been to Canada once. But if you're from Canada, please sound off and tell me if this is, you're feeling the pinch, you're feeling the squeeze, or if this is just bullocks and doesn't make any difference. And here's the report. Canada's food inflation year over year for December 2025, as per Statistics Canada, stands at 6.2% overall for food. Grocery store food is up 5%, and restaurant food is up at 8.5%. They must have fantastic restaurants, I don't know. US food inflation year over year for December 25 is much lower. Our food is, it's still up, but it's up a little bit, 3.1%. Food at home for groceries up 2.4%. Food away from home, 4.1%. So it's essentially half of what Canada is paying. This means Canada's food prices are roughly double those in the US. Canada currently leads the G7 in food inflation around 5 to 6%, while the US sits near the lower end at 3.1. So prices are going up. This is why I invested in Bitcoin, because every single government out there in the world is going to debase their fiat currency. And that doesn't happen with Bitcoin. That's why I keep buying it every single day, even though sometimes I sound a little bit bearish. I'm still buying as time moves on. But again, if you're from Canada, please sound off, because if that's true, it seems kind of amazingly high for what's going on. And this would actually piggyback into what Scott Bessent is talking about today. Now, as we go into Davos, everybody's talking about Trump and, of course, his big deal that he wants to get Greenland and what he's actually going to do. Here's two pieces to think about. Scott Bessent's going to pretty much say, like, look, I do like this guy, because just the way that he talks and he's so calm, it's kind of what I strive to do, which is not be too hypey and just kind of say, look, you got a sphere of control. This is what you can deal with. This is what you can. And things are going to be all right. Listen to this. This is actually pretty great.
Again, I would say this is the same kind of hysteria that we heard on April 2nd. There was a panic. And what I'm urging everyone here to do is sit back, take a deep breath, and let things play out. As I said on April 2nd, the worst thing countries can do is escalate against the United States.
Anyhow, so there's that, which sounds pretty good. And then also, I like a good rumor. See, on this show, it's educational entertainment. And this is just a rumor. But to me, it makes a lot of sense. This is the rumor alert, another revelation here on X. Top White House officials disclosed that the U.S. is finalizing a staggering $700 billion cash offer to buy Greenland outright from Denmark, plus $100,000 lump sum payments to each of its 57,000 residents, totaling nearly $706 billion. First of all, I identify as a Greenlandian. So if you want to give me that $100,000, go right ahead. Second, everybody's got a price. I've been in real estate for a couple of decades. I've done investments, done different things. And I can just tell you, everybody's got a price. There's a reason why the OG Bitcoiners sold at a specific level, because everybody's got a price. I don't make the rules, it's just how it is. And if this is actually true, again, it's a rumor, so you never can tell, but it makes sense to me, right? If people are like, if Denmark's like, look, we're not going to give it to you. All right, well, how about this much money? No, go up. And then back and forth. The same thing is like, it's the same thing as real estate. And you know who was into real estate pretty heavy? Donald Trump. So let's see if this actually moves forward. Again, this is negotiations. I have heard nothing about taking Greenland by force, but that is a geopolitical issue to talk about, and that's not for the channel. Anyhow, let me just think about that in the comments. And this is all good stuff, but we got to balance it with a little bit of bearish news. And this is, I think, probably one of the most bearish things you're going to see today. Tom Lee is kind of bearish. I didn't think this would ever happen, quite honestly, but here we are. Tom Lee starts off good, but in the end, it gets a little shaky. Tom Lee, BitMine, Fundstrat CEO, comes out today. Actually, I think it's like 7 hours ago in the morning. Says, hey, look, this is shaping up to be a similar 2025. Good fundamentals, tariff escalations, political divisiveness, tailwinds from AI and blockchain, but a dovish Fed now and quantitative tightening is over. That part sounds kind of, in the middle. But this part shook me. I'm like, wow, Tom Lee's bearish. I can't believe it. And so a painful decline may lie ahead. Let me say it again. Tom Lee said a painful decline may lie ahead, but we would buy the dip. And I was like, oh my goodness, maybe we are going to be in for a big, huge low. But Tom Lee, being Tom Lee, just an hour later says, hey, my best guess that it will be a green day. But big decline is open as a head fake. And I was like, great, we're back, baby. But then, of course, it is 4:30 p.m. here in Puerto Rico. It's Atlantic Standard Time, which means it's 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. You probably got another 30 minutes or so of trading. And right now we are down 2% on the S&P. Maybe it's, hold on, let me refresh this. Damn it, 2.08%. Well, Tom's a perma bull, but that didn't work out too hot. In our market, of course, yeah, we're down a lot. So we've busted below 90K. We're in 89K. Look, the last NFA live show we talked about, it was just a relief rally. We thought it would do this, and here we are. Depends how you look at it. Me, I look at this like, keep going lower, because I'm going to keep buying, and that's where we're at. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comments section. And I hate to say this, but I don't hate to say it. It's right. Peter Schiff did a great job. I mean, Peter Schiff, if you don't know, enormous gold bug, likes to talk trash about Bitcoin, saying how it's worthless. Was at the Bitcoin conference a couple of times. Actually, no, last time that he was there, which was last year. And he's right. He was right on gold and silver, and I congratulate him. And now he's going to do his victory lap. And this is from Coin Bureau. Peter Schiff says people should sell their Bitcoin to buy silver. He warns Bitcoin will collapse while silver will reach $100 per ounce by tomorrow, which I think it might have, not for sure. But gold and silver are acting like hedges. Also, they're acting like a risk-off asset, like they should be. And Bitcoin, as we can see, is not acting like a risk-off asset. It is acting like a risk-on asset, and that's just pretty much how it is. So congratulations to the gold bugs. I own the same thing. But I would say, I had a little discussion with a gentleman by the name of Brad in the comment section. X is a pretty reasonable place if you keep yourself reasonable. If you go hot and heavy and crazy, it gets salacious, and you don't want to do that. And Brad says, hey, if Bitcoin's not a store of value, what is it? And this is how I see it. And I want to ask you guys your opinion. You can put that in the comments, or we'll talk about it in the Q&A. But this is how I see Bitcoin. I always saw it as a long store of value, a long-term store of value, maximized. And like I said here, it can go down 30%, 20% in a day. So if you're doing like day-to-day operations, it's not a great store of value day-to-day. It's just not. I mean, you can see that as we drop 20% some days, 30%. Doesn't happen all the time, but it does. However, talking about all that, remember that Venezuela, their currency, the bolivar, and Iran, the real, went pretty much to zero in roughly a day. So those aren't good store of values whatsoever. And the US, if you say like, well, the US dollar is awesome. No, the US dollar has lost 25% of its purchasing power over 10 years. Imagine that. $1,000 roughly in 2015, the purchasing power that you had back then in 2015 to today, 25% less. So I said gold's been a great slow moving store of value over time. And it's been around a little bit longer than Bitcoin. However, when you compare the purchasing power and store of value narrative to Bitcoin over 4 years and beyond, it is still an excellent long-term store of value, and it's why I own both. They are the tortoise and the hare of SOVs, or store of values. And Brad's like, hey, I'm with you. I own both myself. So shout out to Brad for having a polite discussion on X, which rarely happens, and that's just how I see Bitcoin. Maybe I'm wrong, it's just how I see it. And then lastly, before we get into a little Q&A, I need to ask everybody else's opinion for something. There was this great piece that was out by Shining Science, and they're talking about cancer research and how they're able to wipe out leukemia in these specific studies. I think there's a huge advancement going on. There's that, and then there was a show with Chris Cuomo, and this gentleman by the name of Dr. Pat Soon-Shiong was on and talked about his medication, Anktiva, and how it actually helps with cancer research. I used to work in oncology a long time ago, and I can tell you this is fascinating to me. And the reason why it is because I think that AI is going to push us into the next realm where we can actually accelerate all of these different processes and the research to actually get actual real cures instead of going chemotherapy and radiation. The reason why I'm talking about that on this channel is because I'd like to hear what are the crypto-specific or digital assets that have to deal with AI. Because if we can speed up AI and digital assets, we can speed up the healing of patients that have cancer. and we can find and fund other research moving forward. So what are those projects that are out there that actually have some positivity and actually can push us forward? Let me know which ones they are in the comment section. I'd like to see that. And lastly, Randy Hip. We don't know Randy, formerly Miss Teen Crypto. Now she's in her 20s, so she's a little older. But she has connected with the Bitcoin series, the Florida Bitcoin Strategic Reserve stablecoin legislation with the Florida blockchain banking organization. And they're working together to try to get a strategic Bitcoin reserve specifically in Florida. Now, to do that, that's going to take a little bit of money, a little bit of funds, and a little bit of time. And I just put this in the description if you'd like to donate to this to move it forward. And like I said here, damn it, this is what I was trying to say. Blockchain FFL, Florida's leading blockchain. They already passed an anti-central bank digital currency, and I commend them for that. And if they can get one bill over the line, they can get a second one over the line. And if we start with Florida, maybe we can get them on all the different states, and we can push Trump moving forward into actually enacting the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, which is already out, but I think he's done a pretty poor job of actually adding to that, and that's it. But yeah, if you'd like to donate to that, which I'm going to do in the same thing, links in the description, help out Randy and the Bitcoin Blockchain Association of Florida. And that's a word. And that's it for today. So if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. Everything we talk about is time sensitive. Now let's go into a little Q&A. I'll answer all your questions to the best of my abilities, and we'll get the heck out of here. All right. Yeah. Cancer loves, exactly. Cancer loves sugar. They start to call cancer, and I don't want to get too in the weeds, but there's diabetes type 1, insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus. It's for, you're born with it. And then you have diabetes type 2 or diabetes mellitus type 2. Non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. And they're talking about how stage 3 or diabetes type 3 is actually for dementia and Alzheimer's, I should say. But it's also one of the primary energy sources for cancer. And if we can eliminate that, then we can actually stave off cancer and move from there. There was Dr. Feynman, I forgot the guy's name, but he was talking about this exact same thing and how they put them on specific diets to decrease the amount of glucose and all those things. But if we can do something with immunotherapy that actually works and stop wiping out everybody's immune system, that is chemotherapy and radiation, and we actually use like advanced immunotherapy, that's the greatest thing of all time. We should be looking at that as much as possible. Anyhow, that was a rant, sorry. Let's see. For our crypto with positive humanity, I'm at a loss. See, there's a way to do this. There is a way to do this and move forward. Randy Upper for Fed Chair. I wouldn't go that far, but I like your channel. Rob, will you be a crypto PR? Brandon, Brandon will be there. H-Bar Bull will be there. When is that? I live here. You think I would know that? I'm going to be in the tokenization event next weekend. So if you guys are here, stop by. I'll be just perusing around, talking to people. So yeah. Gassy Fee has a good point. Turn out that a bunch of drunk bros in a dorm creating a meme coin doesn't count as productivity in the real economy. Yes, but I bet those guys are rich right now. They'll probably lose it all because, that's how it goes. Easy come, easy go. But yeah, meme coins, well, that was a blight on our market, that's for sure. The world hates Bitcoin today. I think in some sectors, possibly. Let's see. That's funny. Yeah. Why do so many crypto influencers shill S coins in the super cycle narrative? It's exhausting. The super cycle thing, I don't know. I mean, the S coins, I get it because they're financially obligated to do those things because they're probably investing into it and they're dumping on it. Whatever. But super cycle narrative, I've been hearing that since 2018, and it hasn't come out yet. Now, if the banana zone people are correct, and we've got the business cycle in effect, and it goes above 50, which is an expansion in the economy, fantastic, and liquidity goes even farther than what it is right now, even though we're at all-time highs for M2 money supply globally in the United States. And if we can get rates down to zero, sure, why not? Maybe we can do a super cycle. But again, there's a lot of factors that are against us. One of those being midterm years, historically speaking, not great years for traditional markets and definitely not crypto. But I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I'm wrong a lot. Ask my wife, she'll tell you. And that joke never gets old, I know. Tom Holman for Preston. Gas fees right there, too much sugar. Crypto CEO, Rob, do you care if a profitable investment is proof of work or proof of stake? Some people say that everything should be proof of work because it gets us out of the centralization, which is a problem for corruptibility, which is also a point of failure, which also doesn't bring in the masses that would actually be able to govern it. However, I will say this, Vitalik Buterin came out and just pretty much eviscerated the DAOs, the decentralized autonomous organizations, and pretty much said that the reason why DAOs don't work, even though it becomes a decentralized thing, it really just comes down to whoever has the most tokens is the one that has the most votes. And whoever has the most votes, they can move things this way or that way or whatever they want to. And for those types of things, I say to myself, as long as something has utility and works, I'm very happy for that, and I'll use it. But there's so few that actually do, unfortunately. Now, Bitcoin is the standard. That's why 80% of my central portfolio in crypto is in Bitcoin. And it's going up every day because altcoins keep sucking. Now we have the other ones that are altcoins, and the ones that I've always talked about are the best. And the best are Binance, Ethereum, Solana, and Tron. And those are all proof of stake. And they work pretty well. They worked exceedingly well, actually, especially for Israel and the Real and Venezuela and the Bolivar. As people were trying to escape, they used Bitcoin. And they also use stablecoins, and the rails that the stablecoins are built on are the best, usually. Binance, Ethereum, Solana, Tron. So for me, it's not so much like it has to be a proof of stake or has to be a proof of work. I mean, proof of work is fantastic, but it is what it is. And I'll invest in that, especially if the market chooses it. So that was a long answer. Sorry. Yeah, I love Bitcoin. Yeah, exactly. Turns out cancer rates rocket just like me. Alcohol's exactly. Alcohol, almost straight sugar. I mean, it's fantastic, for different alcohols out there. Speaking of which, if you're at the tokenization event and you want to buy me a beer, I will accept, and then I'll buy the second round. Let's see. How far have we been without all this crap coins? Probably pretty much farther. Thomas Seyfried. That's who I was trying to think of. I just remembered. The researcher's name's out of Boston University. His name's Thomas Seyfried, S-E-Y-F-R-I-E-D. And he's done multiple studies showing why cancer, it's this thing, the Warburg effect. And if you just look at Thomas Seyfried and the Warburg effect, that's not this channel's focus. But how it can destroy cancerous cells, how people's lifespans can actually increase, how the mortality rates decrease, just by changing a few things. And again, this guy was, I think he was at Princeton first and Boston University. Anyhow, Thomas Seyfried, check him out. And I think that's it. Well-known YouTuber blaming gold and silver for this cycle's failure. Anyone with an ounce of sense is holding metals to prove it. Yeah, exactly. Now, my brother's always busting my chops about it and saying like, hey, you got to own more gold and silver. You got to more gold. I'm like, geez, Brandon, all right. So I bought some, but I put it in my Roth IRA over at iTRUST. And he says essentially like you're a loser. You need to have it physical custody. Which that's the funny thing about precious metal people and us. We're the same type of narrative. You have to physically custody it, gold. You have to physically custody Bitcoin. So I did this with iTRUST, Roth IRA for my retirement account. And now they just rolled out where they can actually buy and ship you the physical gold. Link in the description, go check that out. But yeah, we'll see. Jimmy's right. I think AI stole the crypto cycle. Crypto, digital assets, like I've talked before, it is really about momentum, and it was all about speculation. Momentum and speculation. We had fantastic momentum all the way through 2024 into 2025. And the speculation, people were like, well, this is the 4-year cycle. It's going to keep going up. We could hit 150, 200, 250, depending on whatever Tom Lee's crazy price prediction was. And of course, we topped out on October 6th at roughly 125, maybe 126,000, depending on which different exchange you were at. So we lost the momentum. And once you lose the momentum, speculation just drifts away. Where do they go to? Well, they went to an asset class that was being bought up by nation states, China, and well, other nation states as well, and also the central banks. That's called gold. And they got into it, and you saw retail lining around the street to buy gold at its all-time high. Now they're actually doing pretty well still. Silver is the same way, and I think that will continue. So short term, I think gold and silver are going to outrun Bitcoin and digital assets. In the long term, though, Bitcoin will do quite well. And I have to agree with Jimmy about the AI, because if you guys, I don't know if you guys watched the DCA show, it's pretty fun. Me, James, CTO, Marty, got to show off the website I built using Google AI Studio for a local dog shelter named Amigos de los Animales. And I showed you how pretty much how I did it. I mean, for the most part. And then also I put an AI agent in there and donations and everything. It was super simple. If AI can do something like that, and AI can extrapolate or increase the amount of cancer treatments that are being put out that actually work, and they can accelerate the process, first of all, we can live longer. So that's a big thing. Also, it makes everything massively easier to use AI. And I really should do a video on this. But that's not the focus of the channel, so maybe not. But I think Jimmy's right. AI is a big thing, and it'll probably keep getting bigger. Ed says, Ed, aren't you going to come down too at some point? Ed says you're going to be a regular on DCA. No, I'm only there when James sends me a message. I mean, we message every couple of days or so, random nonsense. But no, those guys do fine over there. I'm good. Besides, I got a great show to be a part of, NFA Live, which will be a Thursday on Coinbase. November says, but crypto was going up previous years despite the stock market going up. True. Something smells fishy. Is it possible the crypto cartel and shitty exchanges ripped people off in an unregulated market? Most likely. Let's be honest. The TradFi folks and the institutions, they didn't get that way because they were playing nice. They got that way because they broke the rules. Congratulations then. Anyhow, everybody, that's it for today. I got to get out of here. So like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe if you could do me a favor, and go check out that link to Miss Teen Crypto, Randi Hipper, as she works to get the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve bill passed in Florida. Amazing thing that girl does. That's it for today, everybody. Thanks so much. See you on the next.